It is a brand new edition of Flyers Daily, our first Monday edition now that the season is actually underway. Flyers Daily, presented by Ticketmaster, Make More Memories Live. To discuss the weekend action, we had two games from PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. It is Bill Meltzer. Bill, we actually saw some meaningful hockey this weekend, a 1-1 start.
Yes, hockey after dark. Got to get used to it the rest of this week here. But if you got to get those, it's not a bad thing to get that trip out of the way.
Yeah.
Right up front. Starting back to back, this is not ideal, but you get through it. This time of year is I guess just as good a time, as any to do it.
Yeah.
And you expect to see some not entirely clean play at the beginning of the season. You're going to turn some pucks over. Flyers had a long break between their final, not just the team final preseason game, but the final game that most guys played, because a lot of the regulars last played on October 1st. So didn't really have a game again until Friday. So the kind of a slow start against a Vancouver team that already had a game in that was not unexpected. Thank goodness Sam Ersson was as sharp as he was, and kind of kept the team afloat till they got rolling.
Yeah,
it happens. It went along. Right off the bat, love the resiliency that they showed. It was a year ago till the Flyers had some issues. They'd fall behind in a game, and sometimes they grab a point out. To grab 2 points out of it was really nice. To win the fashion they did, where they never actually led at any point until actually winning in the shootout.
Yeah.
But they stayed close all night. So obviously the two young players brought a lot of energy and excitement to that game. And then I actually thought from a process standpoint in Calgary, they got to a much better start. If you remember, they had, I think, 6 of the first 7 shots on goal in the game.
And 18 in the first period.
Yeah, 18 of them 18 total in the first period. And, found themselves playing from behind again. One thing the Flyers did a little too much of, I thought, in the first game, playing with fire in terms of penalties. But in the second game, you're giving up the most dangerous kind of penalties, a 4-on-3, and then a 5-on-3 later on. And even though the Flyers later got a shorthanded goal and they got a power play goal of their own, you're still behind the 8 ball. You're still chasing on a night where you really could not afford to have to chase the game because you're playing back to back. You cross time zones, and you lost Morgan Frost for most of the second period. He did skate one shift. It didn't look good in that one. In the third period, he looked a lot better. He looked more like himself again. Hopefully he's okay.
And you were down Forster because of the fight.
Right after Frost went down, maybe a minute or two after that, you had the situation where Drysdale kind of got freight trained, and you want to see a teammate stand up for him. It's the second game of the season. You take the instigator, whatever. It a little like the preseason when Couturier fought for Michkov.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where you're saying that when you talk about team culture and guys having each other's backs, I had no problem at all with Forster, who had never had a fight before.
Yeah,
in the pros, and he did. I don't know what fighting Pospisil is not either, but but nonetheless, he acted the right way. But the problem being that you lost him for 17 minutes in a game where you're playing from behind. It wasn't even really his instigator. A lot of times you get an instigator penalty, and it seems like it's kind of an emphatic kill.
Yeah,
you're glad to kill the 2-minute part of it. The problem being when Sanheim took the slashing penalty, slashing the stick, now you're down to 5-on-3.
And your top D-man penalty killer.
And yes. So that it was a little too much to overcome. We could talk about other parts of it too, but I didn't think the process was bad for being on a back-to-back. Again, I thought they had pretty good energy. I liked the push they made in points in the game. They never quit, even when even when the lead expanded, I think they had a few too many kind of fatal mistakes in that one.
Yeah,
The Sanheim shot the Sanheim shot that got blocked.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, at that point in the game, you're really having to gamble. So they brought everybody down low to try to set up a screen. Guys looking for a rebound. That puck has to get through. You cannot get blocked there. Give up a 2-on-1. And
that was York. Yeah.
Well, at least in the what do you call it, in the real time thing, it said Sanheim. I thought it was York too. Watching.
Yeah, it was York. He gets that blocked, and then the 2-on-1 goes the other way. I didn't love the way York played it either, because you go, okay, if I'm coming down, if I'm going to take away the pass, I got to take away the pass.
Yes.
Like it can't. Yes. If you're going to give the goalie the shooter, you can't kind of waffle 70-30, and the pass got through, and to me it looked like Fedotov read that he was giving Fedotov the shooter, which is why he was so out of position for any cross ice pass. You gotta commit to one or the other and live with the result. Yeah. I thought he waffled it. Let's go back to Friday real quick because, well, first of all, let me just say this because I wish the league would do more. And I know it's hard to schedule 32 teams, 82 games. I wish they would do more to make sure that if there is a back-to-back, maybe both teams can be on the back-to-back. A little more. Yeah. I understand you can't do it all the time, but when you got a team sitting there laying in wait, you played the night before, they've already played their opener, and you haven't played in, 11 days, basically. Like, I think the league needs to do a better job of evening that out.
I know. I totally agree. And I think I think the back end of this trip here, it just really puts the Flyers in a very tough position.
Yep.
We'll be talking
time changes.
Yep. Time changes. Going from Seattle on Thursday, so you're leaving the true Pacific Northwest. I mean, you're about as far west as you're going to go, right? Then you got to come all the way back east. So it was a late night flight leaving from Seattle.
They're actually going to come back Friday.
Coming back on Friday.
So but you lose a whole day traveling.
You lose an entire day. So then you're turning around and you're playing the next day. Honestly, when I look at the schedule and and I said like Ed Snyder would have just raised holy hell.
Yeah.
About because he wouldn't want a tired team coming back for your home opener against an opponent that's already there waiting for you.
Yep. They will be in town because they're playing. They'll be out east already. Yeah.
Yeah. They have a Florida road trip. And by the way, best thoughts everybody in Florida.
Yeah.
For sure. So, but anyway, you're coming back to a team that's waiting for you there. Your team is just going to be dead tired. To put it the best, yes, it's one game, right? But especially your home opener, such a high visibility game. Mm-hmm. They put the Flyers about as much behind the 8 ball as you can. And then when you look, when is the Flyers California trip? When you head out to the Pacific Coast? Well, that's around Christmas.
Yeah.
And so they had a day in there where they could have actually put a game in Seattle for that extra day, like over Christmas. And then at least this trip is only in Canada. You have an extra day to come back.
And you're kind of working your way back, too.
You're kind of working your way back, yeah.
To go all the way out to BC, come back to Alberta for 2 against Calgary and then Edmonton, and then go back to Seattle and then come all the way back.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem efficient to me. But going back to that game on Friday, you mentioned Ayerson, the performance he really, kept them in it. But in that game, I thought that, like you said, they never led in the game for the entirety. They give up the first goal, they tie it. They give up the second goal, they tie it. Let's go to that second goal because it's where Lachenko loses Bluger. Yes. Lachenko kind of circles off the boards a little high. Bluger much sharper to the net. And that's one of those things where, that pass that comes from kind of the left point all the way across to Bluger. In a lot of other leagues, that never gets home. Yes. You know what I mean? But in the NHL, it does. But I get the sense that Lachenko is one of those guys that's not going to be a guy that repeats mistakes.
No. I think he learns very quickly. That's obviously such an important. You learn a lot about players too, not just from the plays that they make, but from the situations where they make a mistake.
Yeah.
And does it snowball? Does their level of assertiveness or confidence struggle from there. All things, that you really need to see how they react when it happens. It happens to everyone.
Yep.
It happens to Hall of Fame players, but when it happens to a really young player like this, an 18-year-old in the league, how does he react? And I thought he reacted really well. I thought he bounced right back.
Bill, I thought he played better in that game than he played in any of the preseason games.
I thought he did too. And something else that we saw a little bit in the preseason, also saw in practices too at Flyers Training Center. He's not afraid to take a little bit of a beating.
Yeah. That collision with Soucy was no joke.
Yeah, he had the one with Soucy, and then and guys were testing him. I mean, he was bumped any number of times in the game, which I think was maybe also a little bit of a factor in why he didn't play the second game.
Yeah,
there's all the emotion that's tied up in it too. You just went through a very difficult camp, and it's a chance to get Cates in the lineup for a game, and then give him the day off or whatever. But I think that was a little bit too. It was an opener. The adrenaline is pumping for everybody. Just give him kind of that couple days there. Start him, especially against a team as fast as Edmonton.
Yeah. You're gonna need his speed on Tuesday night.
They will absolutely need his speed on Tuesday night. I'm really interested today to see at practice in Edmonton what combinations they use. I have some thoughts of where they might go. Obviously, that's as we're recording this, it's still Sunday
night. Get Torts on the line.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure he listens to our suggestions too. But in terms of what they might run with, I'm thinking, well, it partially depends on how Morgan Frost is feeling.
Yeah.
Because although he did seem to be feeling better in the third period, the fact
still
that he
limited.
Missed, I'm hoping he feels okay, and it's a shame too because he was one of the guys really kind of flying up until that happened. He had 3 scoring chances in the first period, and I thought he had he did have the shootout winner, but I thought he had a better game in the second game than the first one, and he was dominating the faceoff circle.
Mm-hmm.
He really had his feet moving. He attacked some through the middle. Nothing went in for him. He did have that assist later on in the power play, that tic-tac-toe, which Remichkov made that really nice pass over to Konechny. But if Morgan can't go, then obviously he would be sat out that game just to see where he's at. If Morgan is fine and he plays, then you have some decisions. I would think that Kate stays in the lineup. I wonder if Ryan Poehling sits.
Yeah, he's gotten off to a bit of we talked about his preseason. Yeah. We were underwhelmed by it. And he doesn't look like he's hit the ground running thus far yet either.
And 2 penalties.
Yeah. Not moving your feet penalties.
Exactly.
And I didn't think he was hard enough on the pass in the first goal in the Vancouver game, too.
In the Vancouver game, yeah. That he was not hard over the ball. That was a play where that puck needed to leave the zone. It was one he could handle.
Yeah. He's got to bear down on that.
Yeah, just bear down. And
looked a little too casual.
Yeah, and as a guy who's really it has to be his details, his two-way play, and he had a chance with the way that the lines were juggled in the second game. He was moved up in the lineup.
Yeah, with Fabian Brink.
So I would think that he would be the guy if it were my decision. If you have to sit a center and Frost is okay to play, I think Poehling would be the guy I would.
And I draped Cates right on McDavid. It was really Noah Cates' coming out party a couple of years ago with how he defended McDavid. He had the one game where he didn't have a shot on goal.
That's great. In Philly, yeah.
Yeah, he ended up having an assist, but I think that was only the second time that season, and it was late in the year. I think it was February when that game took place.
Yeah.
That McDavid didn't even have a shot on goal. And look, Edmonton's playing tonight as we tape this. Right now they're 0-2. McDavid hasn't scored. Really hoping that Edmonton beats Calgary.
right. Yeah, that's he's going to take it on some team. You hope it's on a different team. So yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. But so they'll be in Edmonton coming up Tuesday night. Bill, what'd you think of the weekend play of Jamie Drysdale? You mentioned earlier he got hit and blown up pretty good a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I thought he defended pretty well using his body. In particular, there was a rush opportunity in the game on Saturday against Nazem Kadri where I thought he really squared up on Kadri. He's a big, powerful guy, too.
Yes.
I like the way that he is defended, though he needs to protect himself a little bit better at times on the ice, especially in the open ice.
Yeah. And he's never going to be big. He's not going to be that big. So he's not the most physical guy. I think he's doing a little bit better job of guys getting inside position on him and trying to take that away. I do think he's defending a little bit better. We'll see things in terms of like gap management and those things. It's still such a small sample, but I thought there were things he could build off of in the 2 games so far. And he's another guy that I thought overall kind of had to. It's weird when you come off a game where you give up 6 goals. Right, where you're saying, oh well, he had a better game than most guys, but I thought a lot of guys were actually better in the second game than in the first one. So
yeah. I mean, look, the first game, your goaltender performed extremely well. Yes. I thought Mishkov in game 1 looked a little tentative in the first kind of 30 minutes of the game, and I think we saw him get more comfortable in the second half of the game, and again, in the Calgary game, I didn't think he got off to a great start there. I thought he finished strong and started getting creative, but he seems a little tentative to start in some of these games.
Yeah. I think it's been in both games, the first period particularly. Just in terms of, finding the space that he needed, really kind of. He just seemed a little bit out of sync. Now listen, this is part of it too. He's not killing. He's not going to be in the penalty kill. Flyers spent a lot of time on PK.
Yep.
So it takes guys out of the flow a little bit. Right off the bat, he's playing a back-to-back. So I'll give him a pass on those things. And he ended up. That was a beautiful one-touch pass. Really, that whole sequence. It was on Frost stick, off Frost stick. To Michkov, one-touch pass connecting in the net.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, those are the kind of power play goals. I mean, it was like pretty meaningless at that point because of the score. It was a remote chance of any kind of a comeback, but any kind of positivity the Flyers can build on the power play is
there's no such thing as a meaningless power play goal for this team after what they've been through for 3 years.
They're trying to build it. So,
Bill, in Vancouver, the power play goal they score, power play 1's out there. And there's a touch pass, Mishkov to Frost, who's in behind. It's kind of a bang-bang play, not a set play, coming off the half wall or kind of your prototypical power play strategy. But it all happens very quickly. Mishkov one touch to Frost. Lankin ends up making the save.
A very good save on a backhander. Yeah.
Yep. And then later on the same power play, we see the one-touch pass, this time Farabee to, I'm trying to think who scored that goal. Oh, Tyson Forster. Yeah. Same exact spot, Farabee one-touch. Forster gets in behind the Vancouver defense and scores it. That's got to be a strategic. There's no way those 2 plays happen on the same power play by happenstance.
No. And that clearly was by design, and something we saw also in both games. First game, it's Frost and Michkov kind of switching positions. Frost.
I love when they switch too.
Yeah. Good things always happen.
Yep.
Frost comes above the goal line, passes to Michkov right at the goal line. In the Vancouver game, he tried that between the legs shot, and he'll score. He'll score.
Hit him in the mask. Yeah.
He's going to score on those, and then another play along the goal line, same kind of a rotation in the second game too. So that's all. Those are all areas where I think that stuff they can build off of, because it's it's something's starting in such a precarious place, and I'm glad that they're not sitting here with an over through 2 games, whether you win or whether you lose. But they have to start building some positives, and I thought they did.
That little switch from Mishkov on the half wall to Frost down below the goal line. Just making that switch is yet another decision you put the D to.
Yeah.
And when you're on a power play, it's about making the D make tons of decisions because eventually they're going to make the wrong decision.
Yes.
If you don't put them to a decision, you're easy to defend. And then you couple that with, well, as Frost moves up high, he can cut off the top of the circle and go to the net for a one-time shot. He can stay stationary on the half wall and run it through him. Mishkov can get the puck down low, go behind the net. There's so many, and then the low to high play, which is what we saw in the second game,
yes. Which
Frost goes to Mishkov and he goes to connecting for the low to high one timer that ends up in the back of the net. It's all about variety and variability. That's a huge element, and to get the 2 power play goals, I think is very big. The other thing that those 2 opportunities, the Frost and then the Forster goal in the game 1 does, other teams see that. And what do they have to do? They have to pull their D back now. Their box has to sink a little lower. And what does that do? It opens up more space out high. There's no mistake in showing that and having it work for the Flyers. Bill, in game 2, I got some notes from some people about Fedotov and his appearance. I thought there was a lot of good in his game. I thought he made some really good saves, in particular with the legs. Yes. His movement still looks a little uncertain to me, maybe is the way to put it.
Yes.
It's still a little rigid, and I think his depth is an issue because I think he gets beat on that first goal.
Well, I was going to say the 4-on-3 goal.
Yeah,
that he was definitely too deep in his net, and that that it gave Uyghur space to shoot.
Yeah, it just gave him too much net to look at.
Yeah, so it that definitely played in. I don't know, sometimes you look at he gave up 5 goals, and you can't say he had a great game by any means, but I don't think it was that bad either.
No.
And
one guy texted me and said he's not even an AHL goal. I said, dude, settle down. First of all, how many times have I told you, don't judge the guy? Yeah. You can't judge him until we see 15, 18 games.
Yeah, and it's just a second NHL start. He had, he had one and a couple relief appearances last year.
Yeah.
So it's just his second NHL start, and we'll see.
I have concerns.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah,
I do too.
But I'm not going crazy just yet.
Yeah. But I mean, you can see the wheels turn in his head a lot.
Yeah, he's thinking.
Even things like puck handling, which is something he's supposed to be pretty good at, actually. Mm-hmm. But I think things right now he's just thinking a lot out there, and a couple plays I think he could read better, maybe committing a little bit early, but give it a few starts here. I don't think you draw any conclusions off of one game from him.
Yeah, I think he's, we've talked about the play reading. He's got to figure out. I think a big thing that just in the one game and a little bit in camp, noticing it too, and in the preseason, he's got to figure out how to use his size, by his depth in the net as an asset. I think, like the Uyghur goal, I thought he was too close to the goal line, too not aggressive enough. I think in that situation on a pass that's coming across. And it was a clear-sighted shot, although the pass lost sight line of the puck. You still know it's going to the middle.
Yeah.
I thought he was playing from behind on the read, and he was too deep in his net. He's going to have to figure out how – but again, sometimes he can't take too much ice, and he has to rely on his sheer size because on East-West plays, as we saw on another opportunity later in the game, for him to get there, you can't take too much depth because there's going to be too much ice to travel. And that's going to be figuring out the NHL because there's a lot of East-West.
Yes.
Do you expect Andre to play coming up Tuesday night?
I think that to me, I don't think you bring up Emil Andre from Lehigh Valley to take him out to Western Canada to sit. I think I would think that the plan is to get him to at least one game, if not 2 remaining games on the trip. So I would think he gets in.
I don't think he played Saturday, Bill, because he had just gotten in late.
He just got in. I mean, he was called up. He was called up the day before, literally the day before the call officially.
There's not a lot of trips going right out to Calgary for you.
No, there are not. No, there are not. So it's he joined the team in Calgary. So, So the Flyers went with the same D group, but there are opportunities to get them in.
Who comes out?
Yeah. I would think that just based on the first couple games, Igor Zamula to me is a candidate to come out. Also, he plays on PP2, and Andre is a power play defenseman.
Both left shot.
Yeah. So you maybe move Andre into the lineup, put him on PP2. It does create a situation where you have 3 small D, but I think Andre's earned the look, has earned the chance. There's always potentially you take Garrett Johnson out too. He wasn't signed to be an everyday defenseman at this point of his career, but I would say it'd be one of those two. I think it'd be Johnson or it'd be Zamula.
Yeah, I would probably pull Zamula out and leave Johnson in. I have a right side guy, natural righty, to play along with Emil Andre. Then I play Drysdale. Where am I putting Ristolainen in here? Maybe I do pull Johnson out.
Yeah, well, then you have your other...
Because I could play Ristolainen and Andre. I could play Drysdale. I guess I can put Johnson on the left side of there, or I put Drysdale and Zamula together.
Yeah.
If I pull out Johnson.
If you take Johnson out, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there'll be some decisions to be made. Certainly a good first week. Good to have him back. I mean, Friday night. I mean, a 5-round shootout, Bill, for the Fly. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh my! And your Flyers are down to their last shot too, right? It was score or lose, and Konechny, Konechny found a way to score and ultimately won in the 5th round. So listen, neither you nor I are fans of the shootout by any stretch of the imagination. But on the other hand, if it's in the game and a point's riding on it, then win the thing, right? So they did, and last year they actually improved. They actually had a 4-3 record in shootout. So
yeah,
that's at least trending the right way.
Well, the thing is too, I saw a lot of people on social media saying they should never put Couturier out there in the shootout. His attempt didn't look great, but he's also 4th all time in shootout percentage.
Yeah,
I think he scored 19 goals in 49 attempts.
And last year he was pretty darn good with it, and actually,
yeah,
last year he brought out that Marty St. Louis move.
Yeah,
turns his back to the net and then turns the other way. And he scored a few of them at least.
I think he had like three on that. Yeah,
I think one was on a penalty shot. Actually, I know one was on a penalty shot like the first week of the season, and I think the other 2 were in shootouts. So I was expecting him to break that out since it's so early in the season.
Yeah.
And maybe it hadn't been scouted out, but I guess I thought, well, maybe I scored, maybe try something different. But no, his attempt didn't look good. But I think sometimes take Frost Winter in Vancouver. You come in that deliberately, and he scored. Now he scored 3 of these in a row, right? Yeah. He scored 2 of them in shootouts and one on a penalty shot, where he just kind of comes in a little bit wide and slowly and takes the goalie off his angle, and then shoots. The
goalie's going, well, you come in with some pace already.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Because he can change his pace easily. The goalie can't.
Yes. Yeah, so that's working for him. But I'll tell you come in that deliberately, and the goalie is patient enough, and it can look pretty bad too if it doesn't work. So.
One of the comments somebody said about the shootout was, you got all these guys that have great moves and can deke the goalie out and sick. But first of all, the shootout is different because a lot of it is a mental thing. When a guy has in a game, a guy can just react and play. In the shootout, it's, okay, what am I going to do? And sometimes what's between your ears gets in your own way. Yeah. And here's the deal. I don't know the numbers on this. I'll dig them up. I'm sure somebody has tracked them. I guarantee that more shootout goals have been scored by a shot than a deke. Yeah. I guarantee it. First of all, the ice is a little bit tired, number one. And as a goalie, I'll take a guy deking me all day. I'll bear down, stay with him. Yeah. When he's going to shoot, there's so much that he has control over that the goalie does not. And because he's not being rushed, he can feed me different pieces of information as deception on where he plans to shoot. I'll take a guy deking me all day.
Yeah.
A guy coming in on a penalty shot or a shootout that wants to shoot the puck,
Yeah.
That is much more difficult for a goaltender.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And such a big piece of it too is that, if the goalie doesn't bite on it, then because you have the opportunity on the shot, you make a move, the move doesn't work.
Yep.
Then really you're already kind of beaten there.
Yeah.
We talked about Couturier. Couturier tried the Forsberg, and you don't see that. It used to work a lot around. It rarely works anymore.
Goalie's too flexible now. Covering the bottom third.
Yeah. And so, when the guy reaches over to try the one-handed goal, it just doesn't seem to work. I also think just the element of surprise on it is gone too over the years. So.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's got a tell on its way in. I totally agree with you. Just ask Bush. Would he rather a guy shoot on a shootout, or would he rather Ole Jokinen come in and try and deke him?
Right.
And close the 5-0 up on him. Yeah. That's the way it goes, though. But yeah, the deke. Give me the shot. Give me the deke all day. I'll take that. Bill, great stuff. We'll read Bill's stuff at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com, and we will crank it up coming up tomorrow. Oh, that's right. We have an episode tomorrow. We'll preview how about this? First week of the season. Flyers, Oilers. Oilers were in the Cup final last year. A lot of people picking them to win it this year. McDavid, Draisaitl. Well, we'll preview that game coming up in tomorrow's episode. So join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.